So I made a post the other day. It was very short. It was a short reel, about 60 seconds or less. And it said, if you want to start living an above average life, you must make above average decisions, right? So you must make different decisions if you want to live a different life. And probably most of us have heard some semblance of that before. But when we take popular sayings like that, and now it's time to really put them in practice and really ask ourselves, so what does that truly mean? That's when the hard work comes, right? And so I said the other day that living an above average life requires above average decisions. And I want to tell y'all where I got that from today. Um, because what I've realized being a coach and being a teacher and being a speaker is that a lot of us fight really hard to stay the same while at the same time proclaiming that we want change. And it's a lot of that's like contradictory stuff going on. It don't sit right with me. So what I thought I would do is I would come on and talk about the importance of your decision making, but then what it takes to change your decision making so that you can live the life that you keep thinking about and praying about. Good morning, y'all. Hey, Angel. Hey, Stacy. Hey, Dawn. Okay, Epiphany Entertainment. Hope you're having a great day as well. Come on in, Instagram, Jackie. What's up? Let's talk about above average decisions today. So, a lot of y'all love the post that I made on Instagram yesterday, and I posted it on YouTube as well, where I talked about a time when I asked my personal coach, was it possible for everything to be okay? So, I haven't heard anyone else say this in a very long time, but I know there's a lot of us that live lives where everything is good. Like you're in a season, you're in a place where everything is good and not just good, but like optimal, right? Like where you're really, really maximizing and exhausting your effort in every area. And so yesterday we were on one of our mastermind calls and I heard someone in the community yesterday. He was the guest speaker yesterday and he was talking about how he's in a place where every area in his life is good. And I said that, but I don't say it a lot. And I don't say it a lot publicly because a lot of times people have a belief that that's not possible. So you guys may, if you follow me on Instagram, you might have saw yesterday where I posted a clip where I talked about asking my coach, ET, was it possible for everything to be okay? And he told me it was. This was like early 2024 or maybe 2023, actually, like the end of 2023. And I remember he and I were out and we were climbing up a mountain. I said, Coach, is it possible for everything to be okay? And he said, yes, it is. Because I was in a place where I was feeling like everything seemed to be trending in the right direction, like my health, like my career, my friendships, my family, my relationship, my spirituality, like my personal growth and development, my healing. Everything was trending in the right direction. I'm like, but everything that I've been around and all the messages that I've taken in and all the things that I've heard suggest that there always has to be something going on. Like all that I've heard coming up, and y'all tell me if y'all have heard this too, like you're in an ecosystem and an environment where it's always something is a common phrase and belief. And so I asked him, like, what I'm experiencing is not matching with what I've always heard. I've always heard there's always something, if it ain't one thing, it's another, to be to be more plain, right? If it ain't one thing, it's another. And we hear that. And I was like, well, dang. Not only is it not one thing for me, it's not another either. So I'm confused because I've always heard that there's always something, and if it ain't one thing, it's another, and it's not, stress free. It's not a real thing, and being at a place where everything feels good and on track is not a real thing. And I've always also heard, right when things feel like they're working out, you just basically waiting for the other boot to drop, or you waiting for something to go wrong. And so I just wanted to have this discussion with you guys today as I was thinking about what it means for everything to be okay and also what it means to live an above average life. I figured I would bring it to you guys so we can have a discussion about what that really means and what that could possibly look like, right? Susan said, yep, she's heard that before. Regina said, right. I used to hate to share my good life because people are always saying negative things. Exactly. Ain't it crazy that when things are going right for you, you literally get shamed by the general public, by the average person? You feel shame for like being like, ugh, that's not my situation. That's not my reality. I remember y'all a couple of semesters ago. So you guys know first of all, I don't know. Everybody here, we familiar? Anyway, I'm Lisa A. Smith. This is the live recording of the Plant Protocol podcast. This is our Monday keynote. Every Monday I come on here and do a keynote for you guys. And if you don't know, I'm a health coach, business coach, and personal development. Been coaching for a decade now and just madly in love with what I do and with my work. So welcome if you've never been here before, but we're here every Monday at 10 a.m. EST. And anyway, so several semesters ago, I was teaching in one of our coaching programs, and I distinctly remember it was a weird time in the economy and in the world. And I distinctly remember one of our students, she worked in the automotive industry, and they had just announced that they were laying off a ton of people at her job in the automotive industry. And I remember her coming to class and saying, when they announced the layoffs, a lot of people were in their feelings, wondering what they were going to do. They were distraught, right? They were losing their job unexpectedly. And I remember her coming to class with us and being like, I just kept quiet because I don't feel that way at all. She was like, I'm so happy. I'm so excited. She was like, I'm in a great circumstance, a great situation. I'm not sad, mad, angry, nothing. She was like, but I didn't feel safe expressing the fact that I didn't feel how everyone else felt. Right. And so for her, it was unsafe to be happy. It was unsafe to be okay with the decision that the company had made. Right. Because when we are in a room full of 9 angry people, how dare you not be the 10th? Right? When you are in the room with 9 broke people, how dare you not be the 10th? Right? When you are in the room with 9 disgruntled people, how dare you not be the 10th? And so what we have to do is we have to learn how to be in a place where it's safe. Like, how can we curate our life to be like, it's okay for everything to be okay. Like, I get that y'all not happy with this. I get that you think it's normal to be overweight at your age. I get that you believe it's okay for your body and your mind to deteriorate. But not only do I not believe that, I act like I don't believe that. Not only do I not believe that you have to stay in a safe, secure job. Not only do I not believe that life is supposed to go in this order and that you got to go to school and get the degree and then work for somebody and then retire. Like, when you don't believe the things that the average person believes, and when you don't do the things that the average person does, sometimes if you're not intentional about how you curate your life, it can feel really dangerous. Now, you guys tell me if you can relate to that. Have you ever been in a place where you don't necessarily hold the same feelings, beliefs, point of view, perspective, and sentiment as the people you're around or the environment you're in, but it didn't necessarily feel safe to be okay and to be who you were and to feel how you felt? I had another student in my mastermind, y'all, last year. This is how unsafe it was for her. She admitted, like, she had a hard time, but she finally admitted to us in the mastermind. She's like, Lisa, I'm a liar. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I lie to my friends and family all the time. And I'm like, what? She's like, they ask me about stuff or what I'm doing or where I'm going, or most common, I'll get something new and they'll ask me how much I paid for it. And she's like, and I just lie. I lie because I feel bad for having the financial comfort that I have. And I feel bad for, I buy the finer things. She's like, but I just got a new bike. And I lied to my friend about how much it costs. And I want to travel and go live in another country. She was like, but I feel a certain way. It wasn't safe for everything to be okay for her. So let's get into really quickly. I got a short message for y'all today, and I want to make sure you guys understand what it means, what's required to live an above average life, and what's required to sustain that life. So there's one major thing that I did to improve the quality of my life. Now, here's what we know. We know that the average person, now we're talking about average, guys. We're just talking about averages here. But we know that the average person, especially in the United States, is overweight. We know that the average person is working a job that they don't necessarily care for, that they're not happy with, or they're unfulfilled. We know that the average person doesn't have enough in savings. If they had an unexpected emergency or needed a car repair, they wouldn't have it. Like, we know that the average person, right, is in a relationship or is in a circumstance in their life where they feel stuck, they feel overwhelmed. We know the average person carries a lot of stress, and we know that more than more than even the middle of our society is on at least one prescription drug. And we know, like, we know the stats. Like, this is not, me making up data, right? The stats shows this, like how many Americans are overwhelmed or dislike, their work, their 9 to 5. How many people are on prescription drugs? How many people have enough money in savings or in a rainy day fund for an emergency? How many people? So we know, based on just the data alone, we don't even have to make up anything. This is not anecdotal, that the average person is living, just riding the line of just like being right in the middle, right? And so I remember several years ago, I was at a conference, and my coach was on stage speaking. And he said something that changed my whole perspective in life and how I was going to live my life. Now, up until this point, I was used to making pretty out of the norm decisions. Like, up until this point, I was used to doing things that were not the norm. Like, before this particular conference, I had already quit my 9 to 5 and moved to another country with an unpaid gig, not knowing how I was going to make money. Before this conference, I had already lost over 60+ pounds, and before this conference, I was already plant-based. So I had already done some things that were out of the ordinary for Black girls from Detroit. Like, usually we go to school, we do really good in school. Then we go on to higher education. We do really good there. Then we go get advanced degrees. And then we go find a job. And we start climbing the corporate ladder. And we get married and we have children. And then we coast into retirement. That's what the average women from my background, young Black girl in Detroit, did. So before this conference, where I heard my coach say something pivotal on stage, I had already done some things that were out of the norm, out of the ordinary for a young Black girl from Detroit. I had already quit my 9 to 5. I had already cashed in my 401k and took a chance on my whole life, right? I had already lost 60+ pounds and kept it off, because the average Black girl from Detroit is overweight. I had already decided that I was going to become vegan, and the average Black girl from Detroit ain't vegan, nowhere close to it. Like, I wasn't a young preppy girl from SoCal, okay? And I was a young Black girl from the west side of Detroit. Like, we wasn't vegan. We ate Coney dogs. We ate Coney Island, right? So I had already done some things that were out of the ordinary for my demographic. However, here's what took it to the next level. I was at this conference, y'all, in Mexico, and my coach was on stage, and he said something, and he was talking about the difference between the lower class, the middle class, and the upper class of our society. And he was saying that the lower class, they're happy where they are. They're not interested necessarily in getting more or striving for more, and they're okay with that. Like, he's like, they wait on their assistance and their checks and their things from the government, and they're okay with staying, in not the safest neighborhoods and not going to the safest schools. And the lower class, like, they're okay where they are, and that's good, and they're not complaining, right? And then he said, in the upper class, right? The upper class, they're like taking chances, they're spending money, they're taking risks, right? They're going after the finer things in life. They're moving and grooving and not necessarily, questioning how much everything costs. And they're willing to, start businesses, and they're willing to fail, and they're willing. And so that's the upper class. He was like, but the middle class, he said, the middle class, they're the most dangerous group of all, because they work really hard for what they have. They work extremely hard. We work extremely hard to get the degrees. We work extremely hard to get the good job. For me, it was a good government job in the state of Michigan. I was a foster care worker. So we work really hard to get the degrees. We work really hard to get the good, safe job with benefits and healthcare and a retirement plan. And he said, in the middle class, and we do all that, and we take out loans to buy homes, because buying a home is like a rite of passage. It means you're doing something right in life and you're on the right track. And so you buy a home in the middle class, and then you have a couple babies, and you work really hard to put them through school, and you work really hard, and you get married, and you snuggle in, and you settle into where you are. And he said the middle class is the most dangerous group, because they work so hard for what they have that they're not willing to give it up to get more and to go farther. And I never forget him saying that, because it was in that moment that I made a definitive decision about my life, which was, I am going to work my ass off not to be in the middle. in anything that I do. Now, this is not a bash on the middle class because some people work hard to get right there and that's where they want to be. Here's the problem. There's several of us who are in the middle in our life, i.e., average, right? Middle means average, right? So there's a lot of us who are in the middle, but it's not where we want to be. Like if you like Lisa, I worked hard for these degrees. I worked hard. We collect all this debt. we like I got debt that proves I got education. I got debt for this home. I got debt for these cars. We got our little nice little car, little Infinity, our little Mercedes. Like we work hard for the middle. We work hard for the middle. But then when we have opportunity, when we have things that we aspire to, and we see other people doing things, we're like, that would be nice. But unfortunately, we're not willing to give up what we have to get a little more, right? And so one of the most dangerous places to live in your life is in the middle. It's in the middle. So let me give you an example. When I say, if you want to live an above average life, above the middle, right? You got to make above average decisions. And so let me give you a few examples of what this looks like and what this means, y'all. So I started my career in coaching as a health coach, and we've helped thousands of people lose weight, get off of medications, adopt a plant-based lifestyle, eradicate a limiting beliefs, live a life of purpose, live a life of radical obedience. And so suffice it to say, I've had a front row seat to human behavior and human decision making, right? And one of the most common things people say, for example, when it comes to their health and when it comes to their diet, no matter how ill they are, no matter how overweight they are, no matter how medicated they are, no matter how stressed out they are, one of the most common things people say is everything in moderation, right? Now, most of y'all know how much I hate this concept of moderation. But what I need you to understand is that moderation is a middle decision. Right? Moderation is a middle decision. It means that I'm not willing to eat the worst and I'm willing to give up some of that junk, but I'm also not willing to eat the best and give up all the junk. I just want to be in the middle. This is part of the reason why I hate moderation, because people are choosing the middle. Now, here's the issue. Let me sip my tea before I say this. I told y'all I'm from Detroit. Now, Biggie one line, right? My Pink Gators, my Detroit players. Here's one thing you need to survive on the streets in Detroit is your fit gotta be fitting. Like you gotta have the right jeans with the right J's, right? You gotta have the right shirt. You gotta have the right cap that got just the right tone of blue in it that go with your shirt, right? Like one thing about Detroit, one thing we gonna do if we don't do nothing else is we gonna step out. Okay, like the Gators, like don't get the wrong shade of pink. Like don't play with us. Like don't get the wrong shade of blue. Like when that sunlight hits you when you show up to the barbecue, like the blues and the blacks better be the same shade of blue and black. You can't have faded black with shiny black. Like one thing Detroit gonna do is match. So I don't know where I got it from, but I think I got it honest from the streets of Detroit, is that we believe in matching. Here's the issue. Your decisions are not matching your desires. Like, I don't know who taught y'all how to dress. I don't know who taught y'all how to dress, but Detroit taught me how to dress. And one thing I know is that the top got to match the bottom and the bottom got to match the top. All I'm saying is some of us, we laying in bed at night, we dreaming about the big house on the hill, we dreaming about financial freedom, we dreaming about the blissful marriage, we dreaming about the kids frolicking through the grass, we're dreaming about zero debt and zero balances. Like we're dreaming about looking in the mirror and loving what looks back at us. Like, come on, women, come on, men. Like we in our minds, we're envisioning what it would feel like to really drive that real car that you want and not the one that you got. Like we dreaming about like turning the open sign on our business and business just flooding in. We dream about an overflow. We talk about the overflow. We say sassy things like, when you get on the plane, you got to put your oxygen mask on first. You got to take care of yourself. Like we know all the sayings. We know you can't pour from an empty cup. We know that you're supposed to only give from your overflow. So we understand the concept of overflow. But for some reason, we making moderation decisions. We're making middle decisions. For some reason, we think like the top don't match the bottom. Like, what's happening in your head and your mind at night when you're driving down the street or when you're laying in bed or when you're fantasizing and when you're dreaming? But then when it's time to make a decision, your decisions don't match your desires. Like, you say you want the weight all off. You say, I'm sick of being tired. I'm sick of having gut issues. I'm sick of my stomach hurting all the time. I'm sick of my skin breaking out. I'm sick of this inflammation. I'm sick of these cramps. And then when Bay asks you what you want for dinner, you want the worst thing. Well, get me the hot pepper wings, all flats with the extra sauce. Don't play with it with the Kool-Aid. Your decisions don't match your desires. You mismatch like a mug. So let me get this correct. You want the above average body. You want the above average bank account. You want the above average marriage. You want the above average lifestyle. You want the above average spirituality and faith. You want the above average business, but you only willing. Where this one might tell me to sip. Let me do it just in case. I'm just saying, I don't know who taught y'all how to dress. That's all I'm saying. The number one thing that changed the quality of my life instantly was the decision to not live in the middle. Let me give you another example. Like, we want financial freedom. It was this whole movement, and I guess it's still going on if you're in the financial world, but it's called the FIRE movement, right? Financial independence, retire early. That's what FIRE stands for, right? It was this movement. I remember it was big like a few years ago. I know people still own it though, right? And so you want this FIRE lifestyle, financial independence, retire early, right? And I remember listening to one of these podcast episodes of somebody who I follow, and she was talking about this FIRE lifestyle, and she was talking about what it takes, right, to get there: financial independence, retire early, right? And she was talking about how, like, okay, you got to calculate your cost of living, you got to multiply it times that, you got to divide it by 75. That's how much money you got to put aside. This is how much you got to do. These are the decisions you need to make financially to have a FIRE lifestyle: financial independence, retire early. And I remember sitting down with a piece of paper and doing the math. Okay, boom. Then I remember listening to somebody else talk about there's 3 ways to have financial freedom in the world. They said, number 1, you got to buy real estate. They said, number 2, you got to invest in the stock market. They said, number 3, you got to have a business. I was like, all right, boom, I'm gonna do all 3. And at the time, I only had 2. I had bought a house, and I was investing in the stock market. No, and I had my business, right? But I had that third one, and I was like, okay, I got to check all 3 of those boxes, because here's what I know. When you just are in the middle, you are just willing to save all the financial rhetoric that tells you how to manage your money and how to put money aside and tell you how to prepare for retirement, tells you 10%, pay yourself 10%, pay yourself 10%, pay yourself 10%. But if you want a FIRE lifestyle, if you want above average living, if you want financial freedom, 10% just won't do. That's a middle decision. Everybody in the middle pays themselves the bare minimum. Everybody in the middle still eats in moderation. And that's why everybody in the middle is on at least one medication, at least 10 pounds overweight. It's not that they're not doing nothing. They're just not doing the most. And if you want an above average life, you got to do more. You got to make above average decisions. I'm telling y'all right now, this changed my life, because I started looking around for examples of this. Like, to the smallest thing, I'll be driving down the expressway, y'all, and I'm like, dang. You got the slow lane to the right. You got the fast lane all the way to the left. But most of us are in this middle lane. I definitely ain't about to be going super. Oh, but I don't want to go that fast. We just in the middle. I said, no, I got my butt over to the left. Look, I go to concerts and stuff. I'm in the stadium, and I'm looking around the stadium. I'm like, dang, it's people in the nosebleeds, but it ain't a whole lot. But there's people on the floor, right up on the stage, right? And they looking at the performer in their eyeballs, but it's not a whole lot. And I look to my left and I look to my right. I'm like, but in these middle seats, we packed out. We elbow to elbow. I'm like, most people really are in the middle. Figuratively, literally. I said, absolutely not. That's when I adopted front row behavior. I'm like, I don't want to be there, and I need to be everything in my life has to be above average, just so I can make sure I'm not slipping back into the mediocre, the middle, the average mindset. Again, there's nothing wrong with being in the middle if that was your plan. But if you're looking around and you're like, nah, this ain't it. I'm telling you right now, you're going to have to start making above average decisions. Moderation won't do. You can't have you can't have just one glass of alcohol. You can't have a sweet every now and then. You got to practice abstinence. If you want above average health, you got to make above average decisions. You can't want the most optimal body and mind and health status, but you making mediocre middle decisions. It don't go together. So let me leave y'all with this. Let me tell y'all this, because I was thinking real hard about this. Let me tell y'all about this. I was talking to somebody this morning, and she called me, and unfortunately, she's battling cancer. And she was like, I hear you talk about this concept of like how everything works together. And she was like, I've been listening to you for years, and I remember you talking about like your mindset and your thinking. And she's like, I don't know. I guess I just want to know, like, what should I do? Like, she's like, I've heard, I really like the way you talk, because you talk about like just holistically addressing things. And she's like, I hear you talk about this mindset stuff. And so I was telling her that healing absolutely is going to start with your mind. I was like, if you want to beat this cancer, healing is going to start with your thoughts. More specifically with your beliefs, right? A thought is just a thought, but when it turns into a belief, that's where it gets dangerous, right? And so she was like, well, how do you change your beliefs? I mean, was leaning in. I could tell. We was on the phone, but I could tell she was leaning in. Because we ain't gonna mess up a good story, right? And so she was leaning in. She was like, how do you change your beliefs, right? And I told her, well, the first way that you change your beliefs is you change your environment. Mandatory. Because the data shows us that we are the sum total of the top 5 people we spend the most time with, right? Hands down, right? And so I don't even have to know you. All you got to do is show me where you play, where you stay, where you work, who you hang out with, and I can pretty much summate what you believe. I said, so if you want to start believing something different, you got to change your environment and change who you're around, and change what you're consuming, and change what you're letting in, and change what you're reading, and change what you're writing, and change what you're listening to. And I was like, you're going to have to, because here's the fact. What you feed grows, and what you starve dies. So whatever you currently believe, it's very easy to go out and find evidence for that. Like, I listen to the New York Times, like it's one of my favorite news platforms, right? And I listen to them, but I often wonder when I listen to the New York Times, I'm like, I agree with them so much, and a lot of the stuff that they report and what they say when they're giving their opinions about what they're reporting, right? And I agree with them so much, to the point sometimes I'm like, you know what, I need to stop listening to this so much, because I believe them so much. And it's just reinforcing what I already believe. And I think sometimes I need a little variety in where I listen to the news, because all I'm doing is searching for more evidence and inevitably receiving more confirmation of what I already believe. And I don't want to have confirmation bias on so many things, right? And so I was telling her this morning, like, if you want to believe something different, you're going to have to get around people with different beliefs. You're going to have to get into a system and an ecosystem in which they are currently believing that which you want to adopt. So I said, step number 1 is environment, hands down. Hands down, step number 1 is environment, right? And then, I told her, you're also going to have to start writing, saying, reciting. You're going to have to flood your subconscious mind with the new belief that you want to take in, right? Until it becomes the norm, and the things that you used to believe sound and feel foreign to you. I'm like, if you're going to believe in healing, you're going to have to really believe in healing. And your subconscious, like, it doesn't know the difference between a truth and a lie. It just believes whatever you tell it. But as soon as you tell it something, it begins to execute to make it happen, to make it come to fruition. So I told her, healing starts with your beliefs. Like, you can drink the juices and eat the plants, but you got to actually believe they're going to work. You can't just do it because somebody told you to do it, but deep down inside, you don't really believe it's aiding in your healing. Like, it takes work to shift beliefs, and you got to work hard at it. And so if the average person that gets diagnosed with cancer, right? Because she was like, I'm around a lot of doom and gloom, and I don't know, it's just feeling like that it's not positive. She's like, it seems like the prognosis and the outlook is not positive. She's like, I'm watching this about cancer, and I'm reading this about cancer, and it's all doom and gloom. And she was like, I'm having a very hard time not thinking negative and not thinking about the worst, right? And so I was telling her, hey, that's like, you have to change your environment immediately. Like, immediately. So I told her the name of one of the books that I'm currently reading, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And I told her that's where it needs to start. That's where it needs to start, because it is very dangerous to try and enter or jumpstart a healing journey with beliefs that don't align with what you want. You want to live. Not only do you want to live cancer free. And you want to live cancer free without any complications from treatment. And so, again, you got to match. Your decisions have to match your desires. They have to match, right? And so, I want to end with telling you guys that I'm telling you right now, the middle is one of the most dangerous places to live, be, and play if that's not where you want to live, be, and play. The average person makes average decisions that are safe. The average person just fights really hard for what they have, but then they fight really hard to keep it, even though it's no longer what they want. And that is the most dangerous place to be. They fight for less than optimal health. Moderation is fighting for less than optimal health. Like, no, can I just have some cookies? Can I just have some chicken, cheese, shrimp? Let me just get Popeyes once a month. That's moderation is literally fighting to stay unwell, right? Like, we work out Monday through Friday just because we're told to. Like, we don't work out on the weekends because we're like, let me just do the average. That's the average. I was in the gym this weekend, y'all. I worked out Saturday and Sunday. And I remember I was in the gym and it was empty the whole time I was in there. The entire time. Nobody else came in. Like, on Mondays when we was in the gym this morning, it was other people in there. Like, on Tuesdays, going to be people in there tomorrow. But Saturday and Sunday, the last 2 days, it was empty. I was in there. I'm whistling, it's echoing, tumbleweeds rolling through the kettlebell. I'm like, dang. Y'all really just making average Monday through Friday decisions. The average person, like, no, we take weekends off. We take rest days. Does your health dictate you can afford one, though? I'm just saying. Does your decisions match your desires? So we're fighting to stay the same. We're fighting for less than optimal health. We're fighting, and we got to stop doing that. If you want an above average life, you have to make above average, i.e. above the middle decisions. The average person is just going to contribute the bare minimum to their 401k. The average person is only going to save 10% when their desires dictate that they need to save 20 or more. The average person is going to do just enough to say they're doing something, but not enough to get what they really want. And then we're going to look up and we're going to complain about it. So the one decision that I made that changed the quality of my life instantly, because it changed every decision I make there forward, was that I made a decision not to be in the middle. Not because the middle is a bad place to be, but because the middle is undesirable for me. It's undesirable for me. So remember, what you feed grows, what you starve dies. You have to flood your subconscious with something different. And then here's the final thing that's going to happen. Then you have to pass the test. Let me give y'all this final nugget, then I got to go. Here's what's going to happen. Okay? Because you're going to be like, okay, Lisa, you said I got to make above average decisions. Okay, I'm done with the cheese. Okay, I want to allow myself just a little bit of dairy. I get it. You said if I want all the inflammation, if I want all the bloating to go away, if I want to have an easy, healthy reproductive system, I get it. I'm done making average decisions and thinking I can just have a little bit like the average person thinks. I'm sick of talking that middle talk. Okay, all right, bet. So then you're gonna make the adjustment and you're gonna start making, bigger above average decisions. And then you're gonna start changing your environment, your ecosystem, and be surrounded with people where what you want is the norm. So I'm in a community full of entrepreneurs. So it's not crazy for me to be an entrepreneur and take an entrepreneurial risk. But when I go home to other friend circles that I have where everybody works a 9 to 5, my conversation and things I'm telling them I'm doing, they like, whoa, that's risky. Then I come back and tell my entrepreneurial community and they like, whoa, that's it, right? And so it's just a different ecosystem. And so you got to surround yourself with people who for whom can serve as your possibility models, right? Who are your possibility models when it comes to your goals? Who's doing the things you want to do? Who's already surpassed the milestone that you're still striving for, that can give you a different perspective and still challenge what you want, even though you thought it was a big deal, right? So you got to change your ecosystem and change your environment. But here's the final thing that has to happen. You have to pass the test. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to warn you right now. as soon as you make a decision to live an above average life, and so as soon as you start making above average decisions, and as soon as you change your ecosystem and invest to be in different spaces and different places where they're making above average decisions, and as soon as you start normalizing not living in the middle, you're going to get tested. The test is going to come, and your job is to pass the test. That's your only job, is to pass the test. So the young lady that I was talking to this morning, who had cancer, she said something, and I'm gonna leave you with what I told her. Okay. She said, "How am I supposed to change my beliefs if I'm surrounded by people who think differently?" She said, for example, I need help with like getting to and from my appointments. And she was like, and the one person, the friend that I have that takes me to and from my appointments, she said she's an atheist, right? And she said, so how am I, like, I'm not surrounded by people who think like this. I'm not surrounded. I'm like, oh, that's okay. That's your test. I said, see, it's easy to be in a room full of people who believe like you believe. It's easy to be in a room full of people who believe that you can change your lifestyle and beat this cancer. It's easy to be in a room full of 9 people who believe that, and you be the 10th, because that's what you want. So it's going to be easy to believe it. I was like, but your test is being able to be in a room full of atheists and still believe what you believe. I'm like, your test is going to be being in a treatment center with people who didn't beat it and you still believing. Like, your test is when you get placed in an environment where you think you've done all the work to change your perspectives and your beliefs, and then you're going to get put in the environment where to see if you're going to flinch, if you're going to budge, right? So that's you got to pass the test. It's not saying that once I do all these things, I'm just going to forever not have any challenges or any ripples on my journey. It is, am I willing to do the work to pass the test? To pass the test. So that's what I need you guys to understand. And that's what I need you guys to adhere to. Okay. So that's the power. Yes, the power. Thank you, Stacy. The Power of the Subconscious Mind is such a good book. It's such a good book. So you have to pass the test. Trust me when I tell you, you're going to do all this work. You're going to make above average decisions. You're going to start really moving in spaces that align with where you want to go. You're going to make sure the top matches the bottom. So you're going to make sure your decisions matches your desires. And if you don't want to change your decisions, just change your desires. The equation works in the opposite direction. So you're like, no, I want to eat cheese sometimes. I want to eat sugar sometimes. I want to splurge and spend frivolously sometimes. I don't want to account for every dollar sometimes, Lisa. I don't want to have to think that hard and do that much. That's okay. Just change your desires. It's okay. Ain't nobody begging you to. Just change your desires. It's all good. Just retire at the regular age. You ain't got to retire early. That's just the rest of our goals. You know what I'm saying? Just change your desires. An easy fix. So don't come yelling at me about why you should still be able to have cookies and burgers. Just change your desires. It's okay. It's just going to come with a little fluff around the middle. As long as you okay with it, we are too. Okay. Shots fired. Okay. So that's it. And then you got to pass the test. Soon as you make that big effort and that big leap towards what you really want, you're going to be tested to see how much you want it. Right. And so that's going to be important to note as well. All right, y'all. That's all I got for y'all today. Takeaways. Y'all know the fee for free. Give me a takeaway or two. I saw Linwood said confirmation bias. That's the gym for me today. Yes, indeed. What was your major takeaway today? What did you need to hear? What was for you? What was for you today? Hey, thank you for the fire emojis, y'all. I really appreciate it. Give me the takeaways. Allison says, my decisions need to match my desires. Absolutely. I don't want to stay in the middle. That's it. Shaquanda said, your decisions have to match your desires. You have to make above average decisions for an above average lifestyle. That's exactly all. Mullings, thank you. She said, bless you. Bless you. Thank you. Danielle, that was the one. Okay, that was the one. Okay, I'm happy with it. Melanie said, get with it or change your desire. Yeah, that's it. It's like you can still eat in moderation. Like you can still only save 10. Like you can still only give God 10%. Like you can still make the middle decision. You can ride the middle lane. It's just like, don't get mad at everybody else in the middle lane. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna be in the middle, be in the middle. Right? It's okay. You can just carry on, buy your house, have your student loan debt, and just go through life and just take it easy. It's okay. My thing is, don't be complaining about dissatisfaction when you're not gonna make different decisions. That's all I'm saying. Danny said, flood your environment with what I want to believe. Yes. Yes. Stacy said, write it and recite it often. Absolutely. Absolutely. The mind forgets, but the pen remembers, my coach always says. I loved everything about this live. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for being here, Zeus. I love that. Love that. Okay, y'all. So we'll be back here next Monday, 10 a.m. EST, our regular Monday morning keynote. So thank you, Dr. Brock. Fire. Marja, thank you for helping me walk a healthy lifestyle. My pleasure. Yes, absolutely. Stacy, be accountable and willing to do, Susan, be accountable and willing to do the work to achieve our goals. Yes. Okay, I think y'all got it today. Tina said, you are fire for me. Don't get my little shoulder shimmy going, y'all. Okay, y'all. So listen, make sure you are subscribed to the Plant Protocol podcast. That is the best way to get these episodes, listen to them, be able to pause, stop, rewind, all of those things, so that you can really take it in. So subscribe to the Plant Protocol podcast to make sure that you are getting what you need to feed your subconscious mind. So I can yell at you on a weekly basis so that you can start thinking and believing different, so that you can make different decisions. So make me part of your ecosystem. All right. Let me be the voice in your head instead of the ones that are telling you to stay safe. Okay. If safe is not what you desire. All right. So until next week, y'all. Bye, y'all.